Hey everybody, Mike Short here. Thanks so much for tuning into my third live stream. Doing this every Tuesday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So hope some of you can join us live next week if you find this video online between between now and then. Today is Tuesday. It is April the 7th. And we're still in the middle of the COVID-19 situation here in the States. But I wanted to share with you a conversation that led to the topic for today. But I was meeting with a group of clients this week. As many of you know, what I do is I run an organization that I founded where we put teams of people together from different industries, and they essentially act as each other's board of advisors. But we were going through one of the meetings this week, and the question came up of, how is this situation impacting you and your business or your clients' businesses or strategic partners' businesses? And one of the things that came up a couple of times is folks who said, a big part of my business is networking. And that could be done in a variety of ways, right? It could be that people belong to a formalized networking group. The big one nationally is called BNI. Locally, there's some other ones like 212 and Synapse. These are typically networking groups where the purpose of going there is to kind of let folks know what you do and then ask for specific introductions. Personally, I think that's the wrong definition of networking, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. In fact, I'm going to do a whole series of videos that are probably not going to be the live stream version, but just a series of videos on what is networking, how do you network effectively, how do you network well, what kinds of things do you need to consider when you are in the process of building your business through relationship marketing, as I like to call it. But this individual, this member, brought up the fact that he attends several meetings every month that are typically a once a month social type of networking meeting, and he feels a little bit out of sorts because not only is he working from home instead of his office, and part of the reason I think he has a job is because he wants to get out of the house, right? And part of his struggle right now is the fact that he's not going out and connecting with these people that he's built relationships with over time that he can't see right now. So what do? You're stuck at home. You're trying to figure out, gosh, networking is such a big part of what I do. How can I continue to do that given what's going on today? Well, I've got great news for you. First of all, most of those organizations that I mentioned have moved, if not everywhere, at least in a lot of communities, they've moved their meetings from a physical in-person meeting to an online platform like WebEx or Google Hangouts or Zoom. Our organization, of the Pro Business Support Community, we've moved all of our meetings to Zoom. And that opens up some huge opportunities for us that we've never had before. I'll talk about that later as well. But first, let me talk with you about the idea of networking and what networking really should be and what networking has come to be known as in the business community. I'm not talking about computer networking, just to be clear. We're talking about business networking for business and relationship marketing, whatever you want to call it. And here's what I mean. When you go back to the concept of networking, and the first time I ever heard the term networking was from a book that I read, and I think I read it in the late 80s, and it had been around for years before that, called Megatrends. And then later it was updated to Megatrends 2000. And that was the first time I was introduced to the concept of building a network. And I think when you think about networking, to think about it in its proper context, you really need to think about networking as building relationships, and not relationships that are based on, here's a name and a phone number that you need to call, but relationships that are mutually beneficial in terms not only of making introductions to expand your own network, but to give you advice, to be a sounding board, to partner with on opportunities. So networking goes so far beyond what so many people think of as networking now. I think of networking more like a spider web, right? And I can remember a friend of mine once told me that everybody he met got put onto a spreadsheet. And literally, he could tell you that I met Joe because Susie introduced me to Joe. I met Susie because Bob introduced me to Susie. I met Bob because of Karen, and I met Karen because of Pete, and I met Pete because he was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, right? You got to think about everybody that is part of your network. And there's a thin thread typically, except for those people that you randomly meet, whether that's in line at the grocery store or maybe the roommate you got paired up with in college your freshman year, whatever that is. The majority of folks that you meet through introductions, it's a thin thread. And if with this guy's spreadsheet, what he was able to do and what he was able to realize is, in that example I just gave, if I had not been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, or I hadn't met Bob or Karen or whatever the names were, this person down here, eight folks deep, I never would have been connected with them. So I think of a network kind of as this group of people that expands to more people, that expands to more people. And your network really is like this interlocked spider web. To me, that's how I think of a network. I think about it looking like a net, right? Network. You think of a fishing net, how all of the lines are kind of tied together. So I think, first of all, it's important to understand that piece. So let me talk with you for a few minutes about how I think you can network right now while many of us are stuck at home. First of all, I think it's huge to maintain and continue to deepen the relationships you have, in your current network. Sorry about that. I had a little something stuck in there, or felt like I did. This is a time I hear a lot of people saying, I'm making phone calls to people I haven't talked to in years. I'm reaching out to customers that I haven't talked to in a while. And what I love about what's happening right now, don't get me wrong, I hate the health risks. I hate the illness. I hate the death that's occurring. I hate what it's doing to our economy as a whole. But there are some silver linings to this. And one of those is I've heard many people say over the last few weeks, I'm reaching out to people who I haven't talked to in years, and I'm reconnecting with them. I want to let them know that I still care. And it took this extreme, unfortunate circumstance that the entire globe is going through for some of these people to reach out to folks that they've had in their lives maybe years ago, but they've lost touch with. So number one, how can you network right now? I would say reach out to folks you haven't talked to in a while, whether that's family members, could be former coworkers, could be anything, right? Could be old neighbors, could be current neighbors, could be former employees or employers. But reach out to them, not from the standpoint of you're trying to sell your widget, but just to demonstrate that you care and you wanted to check on them. Second thing I think you can do to expand your network is do what other people aren't doing. Before this happened, any of you that are in business development, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're in sales, right? You guys had prospect lists, or you are working to gain prospect lists. Why not continue to work those lists, but from a standpoint and a heart that says, I recognize it's a tough time. I just want to check on you. I don't want to sell you anything, but I want to see if there's anything you need, if there's any way that I can be of service to you. I really think the thing to do right now across the board is to demonstrate a servant's heart, to ask people, to reach out, to check on them, whatever that is. And I promise you, when this is all over, those folks that need your product or service, they'll remember the people who reached out versus the people they didn't. Now, don't understand me. It's about relationships. It's not about the deal. Okay? You have to reach out to people because you want to establish, build, or deepen a relationship that you already have with them. And that's such a huge part of what we're doing. So, hey, Kathy Myers, appreciate you logging in and saying hi. By the way, if you're here do me a couple of favors and leave me a comment. Let me know that you're here. And in addition to that, if you could, please click the subscribe button. I'll probably mention that a couple of times, but click the subscribe button below, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. All of that helps us as we try to grow the channel. What if I'm not in business development, Mike? I'm not in sales. I'm not the owner of the company. Why do I need to network right now? What is that all about? Well, guys, there are people right now that are hurting. There are people that are losing jobs. They're getting laid off. They're getting furloughed. Their business is way down. I remember the 2008 recession. I started my business, this organization, the Pro Business Support Community, started in 2006. And in 2008, here in Richmond, Virginia, where I'm based, we lost multiple Fortune 500 companies that either went bankrupt or they moved. We had Wachovia Securities. Well, they merged with Wells Fargo. Everybody, all the jobs went to St. Louis. Massey Energy, a huge coal company based here, was bought by another company. Their headquarters is no longer here. Circuit City. Everybody remembers Circuit City, headquartered here in Richmond, completely gone. I mean, massive buildings and this nice campus, completely gone. We had Land America, one of the largest organizations, Fortune 500 companies, that was involved in real estate, headquartered here in Richmond, went out of business. So what I'm seeing right now is very similar to what happened in 2008. And I can remember talking to dozens and dozens and dozens of people back in 2008 that said, I didn't think I had to network. I thought I was set. I was in my cubicle. I was doing my job. I thought I was going to be with this company for 30 years and retire. And all of a sudden, the plan didn't work out through no fault of their own. And what a lot of these folks realized, and what I want to stress to you, is building a network is completely independent of what you do for a living. You ought to stay in touch with the folks that used to sit in the cubicle next to you, that were at the company that you used to work with. Maybe you've taken a position with a new company. But guys, it's so important to continue to to build and maintain relationships. Even if you're the biggest introvert in the world and you're totally happy sitting in your cubicle for 8 hours a day, I think you got to still get to know the people around you, because when you see something like that coming, we didn't see this pandemic coming, but certainly in 2008, there were signs that things were happening. And I promise you, many, many, many people that worked for these companies realized our company is in trouble months, if not years, before the companies finally closed. If you built and maintained and grew and deepened those relationships by establishing a network, by growing a network, and by deepening your relationships with people in your network, it gives you an opportunity to pick up the phone and say, hey, Betty, it's Mike Short. I'm so glad we stayed in touch, because listen, there are things going on at my company that I'm really concerned about. And I'm just trying to get my finger on the pulse and find out what's happening out there, and if there may be another opportunity for me someplace else where I'm not worried about, will I have my job next week? So guys, building a network is huge just from that standpoint. Let's talk about personally. Guys, you need friends. We all need friends. And even if you're the biggest introvert in the world, and your network maybe of good friends socially could be very small, but it's very important. There is power, whether your personal relationships are dozens or hundreds of people, or whether it's 2 or 3 people. I'm a believer that most folks truly have and stay in touch with and maintain their whole lives just a handful of close friends. But that's part of your network too. And those are the folks that can support you in hard times, whether that's personal, whether that's health challenges, whether that's financial. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you maintain those networks. So let me come back to, how do you network now? One of the coolest things that I've seen explode over the last few weeks is use of new technology, whether that is video. Some folks are keeping people up to date with FaceTime video, or Facebook video, Facebook Live. YouTube is a great example. I know in our business, we use Zoom. And so we're still able to take all those folks that normally meet every week in person. We're still able to get together. We're still able to see each other. We're still able to help each other and talk about opportunities and challenges and things we face. And we're still able to solicit advice and input from strategic partners using technology. I hosted my first happy hour last week and wanted to test this out. So I'm part of a Facebook group that are a bunch of guys that belong to a fraternity in college. And the folks in this Facebook group went to school anywhere from the late 60s to the mid 2000s, I guess, something like that. And we had a virtual happy hour. We were all sitting in our living rooms or kitchens or wherever we were. Some of the guys had a cocktail, and we had, I don't know, 8 or 10 guys there. Some of these guys I haven't seen in 30 years, and we had the best time. It was just a great time to reconnect. And you know what? I want to go back. I want to reestablish and I want to deepen those relationships. One of my biggest regrets is there's a lot of fantastic people in my career that I've worked with, that I've known, that I've gone to school with, that I've been neighbors with, that I just haven't kept in touch with. And the cool thing about the times we're living in is a lot of the time you can find those folks now using social media. Not everybody's on social media, but you know what? A whole lot of people are. So get together, pick up the phone. This device right here, this thing, it's so much more than what a phone was 30 years ago, but it still works the same way. Pick it up, call folks, check on them, make sure they're doing okay. And it doesn't matter what your field is, whether you're in sales, which is what people think of as networking, is here's my elevator pitch, here's who I'd like to meet. Hopefully you know them and can introduce me to them. But it really goes far beyond that. So guys, make some phone calls, make some FaceTime calls, reach out to people with Facebook Messenger, use Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever it is that you want to use, but make sure that you continue to grow, to establish, to grow, to build, and to deepen relationships through your network. You know, last thing I'll tell you guys real quick. I called one of my friends today who's in one of the leaders of a local business association, and they usually do a happy hour every month. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, Bobby, I was thinking about you today, and I just wanted to let you know, I understand it's a tough time for everybody. What has your organization been doing to make sure your folks stay connected? And he says, well, we had to cancel our happy hours. So I told him about my experience with this fraternity thing. And by the way, I'm thinking probably 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to do just a business social, and we're going to do it on Zoom, and we're going to make it open for anybody that wants to come. But really excited about this. And I shared it with him, and he said, you're the second person in 12 hours that has suggested that we try to have a social using some of this new technology, using Zoom. So I'm going to work with him a little bit to see if I can help him get set up. I've offered to use my Zoom account for them to host this if they want to. Really excited about that. But guys, don't forget, it's all about the relationships, and we can do a lot with that right now. So just a few things before I go real quick, just kind of housekeeping things. First of all, I'd love to hear from you. If you've got some ideas, some things you'd like to learn about, send me a message. You can reach me at michael@theprocommunity.com. I had to figure out which way my finger went there. But if you'd like to visit one of our business support teams, no cost to visit, right? We've got people who've been visiting for a while now, trying to figure out if becoming a member is the right thing for them. We would love to get you plugged in. And the cool thing now is you don't have to be here in Virginia. We have meetings every day of the week. You could be in Arizona. I've got a friend who's a photographer in Arizona. She has indicated she'd like to visit one of our teams. We've got a guy in Costa Rica who's been coming to some of the meetings. I mean, just it opens up so much. But if you'd like more information about that, email me, michael@theprocommunity.com. You can go to our website. It's in the process of being redone. So still got some good information on it. A little bit out of date from style wise, but we're working on that. theprocommunity.com. Would love to have you guys visit. So there it is at the bottom. If you're interested in visiting one of those teams, just shoot me an email. So that would be great. And then finally, I just want you to know that that if you would like to support this channel to help me to create more content for you guys, we've got a Patreon channel. You can be a patron of this channel for as little as $3 a month. If you're interested, it's kind of like PBS or NPR. Our content out here is free. Obviously, I make some content that is exclusive for members of the pro business support community for those folks. But all of the stuff on this channel is free. I just want to be of service. I want to help more of you achieve higher levels of success than ever before. And if you find value in this, it'd be great if you could support us through Patreon. So that's it for me today, folks. I hope everybody has a safe week. Look, stay at home if you can, shelter in place, love on your family, build your network, continue to build your network, strengthen your network. You can do all of that right now while we're going through this. So thanks so much, everybody. God bless you. And I will see you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay. Bye, everybody.